Here Be Dragons. Perhaps due to Adrian Mole's influence, having an interest in newts can feel like a taboo subject, but ecologist Dave Kilby explains why these fascinating creatures deserve a more credible reputation. Wiltshire is a good county for newts. In addition to playing host to all three native British species, it is also a stronghold for Britain's most endangered and impressive species, the great crested newt. Males of this species emerge from hibernation in early January, returning to their breeding sites in anticipation of the arrival of females, who generally follow a month or so later when temperatures begin to rise more noticeably. Early in the season, the beautifully marked dragon-like males exhibit a prominent and deeply toothed crest down the centre of their back and tail. Underneath, both sexes have a dramatic fiery orange belly, patterned with irregular black markings, and they also possess charming striped feet. Although quite distinct from our other two species, the smooth and palmate newt, all three have similar features, and they share the same bright yellow, deep orange belly markings, a signal of their distastefulness or toxicity. Also known as the warty newt, great crested newts store relatively powerful toxins in small glands over their bodies. A Victorian naturalist once took it upon herself to test the efficacy of these compounds by gently biting a newt, enough to stimulate a defensive reaction, for after several hours of facial numbness, foaming at the mouth and convulsions, she concluded that they were far more than effective enough for her liking. Being predominantly nocturnal, one of the best ways to establish if you have great crested newts in your pond is by torchlight on a warm spring evening, when males will be busy displaying to females. Courtship for newts involves a good deal of posturing, and a common feature of all three species' prenuptials is tail quivering and flicking, where males arch their backs and whip their tails towards the nose of an interested female, wafting pheromones in her direction. These elaborate displays can be seen throughout the spring, but are most obvious earlier in the year, when receptive females are most in evidence. When it comes to egg-laying, female great-crested newts employ a great deal of care. Particular plants and leaves are chosen by sight and smell, with water forget-me-not being one of the most sought-after plants. Females carefully fold a leaf in half with their hind legs and deposit a single egg inside, before clamping it shut for up to half an hour until the leaf and egg have formed a bond. Only a small number of eggs can be laid each night, and the egg-laying period therefore extends over many months, in contrast to frogs and toads, whose spawn is laid in one go. Eggs take about 3 weeks to hatch, depending on the water temperature, and the newly emerged larvae, known as efts, move to open areas of water where they drift in the water column, feeding on minute zooplankton. This habit of preferring open water makes great crested newt larvae particularly vulnerable to fish predation, and the two will not happily coexist. It is known that great-crested newts are able to detect the presence of fish in water bodies by smell, and are therefore able to effectively avoid inappropriate water bodies. Like all newt larvae, baby great-crested newts possess obvious gills during the first stages of their life, but these disappear as they develop and later metamorphose into miniature adult form. Adult males will leave the pond any time from early spring onwards in search of additional receptive females. They lead a more nomadic and terrestrial existence than females, who, preoccupied with egg-laying, remain in the pond for many months. Both adults and young newts predominantly hibernate on land, and will seek shelter in nooks and crannies close to the pond, favouring log piles and compost heaps.